The pharmaceutical formulations are required to be stable and meet the quality parameters throughout the shelf life and the expiry period. And to demonstrate the stability of the pharmaceuticals, stability studies are performed. There are different types of stability studies like formal stability studies and the stress stability studies or stress testing. Also, for demonstrating the stability, we perform the accelerated stability, long-term stability, intermediate stability, we perform the photo stability, then we perform in-use stability and some other types of stabilities. And then we can demonstrate that the product is stable throughout the shelf life and will meet the quality requirements. I welcome all the viewers to this informative video on risk assessment for stability of the pharmaceutical formulations. Whenever we are performing the development activity, we should be proactive and we should understand regarding the risk. The risk may be for the processing, risk may be for the stability, risk may be for the bioequivalence, and risk may be for the patent feasibility or regulatory feasibility. So, as the pharmaceutical formulations are required to be stable, bioequivalent, easy to manufacture, robust, so all these risk assessment are required. In the upcoming time, I will be making the videos on other risk assessment also. This video is for stability risk assessment. Stability is the ability of the pharmaceutical product to maintain its quality, its identity, strength, and purity throughout its shelf life. So whatever the specifications are there for meeting the quality, those specifications are required to be made by the formulation throughout the shelf life. For example, if you are assigning the shelf life of 2 years, then within these 2 years, the product should maintain its quality parameter. And for stability studies and to demonstrate the stability, we should always be proactive. We should always do the risk assessment so that you can have some controls. So why risk assessment is required? It is required to identify the factors affecting the stability early in the development, to guide design of robust formulation, and to ensure regulatory and the patient safety compliance. Stability directly affects the safety and efficacy of the formulation. That's why it is very much important. Regulatory requirements or framework, we can say, mainly we follow the ICH guidelines. These guidelines are elaborative and there are requirements provided by the ICH guidelines for the stability. Now ICH Q1 guideline is out as a draft guideline. Earlier the ICH Q1A series was there, Q1 series, and in that different stability testing were given. So refer the ICH guidelines, then quality guidelines by the USFDA, EMA, ANVISA and other regulatory authorities. Now coming to the purpose of the risk assessment in stability. As we have learned regarding the proactive approach for the risk assessment. So purpose of the risk assessment is to proactively identify potential degradation pathways, select the appropriate packaging, excipients and the formulation. Stability is affected by the formulation composition, API, excipients, manufacturing process, storage, and the packaging system. So risk is required to be assessed on these parameters. Design suitable storage conditions, Then to minimize rework, recall and regulatory actions. If the product is failing in the stability, it will be resulting into regulatory actions. There may be product recall from the market. There will be a reformulation requirement, and it will also defame the organization. Now come to the common risk factors for the stability. So there are different factors. Some of the factors I have enlisted here. These factors will be dependent on to the formulation type. API related factors like hygroscopicity, solid state form or polymorphism, sensitivity to the heat, light, moisture, oxygen, and many others. Excipient related like interaction with the API, interaction due to the moisture. Formulation related pH, residual solvents, water content. Manufacturing related like you are working onto the product, tablet, capsules. So granulation method, compression force, these may be impacting. Packaging system, container closure integrity and permeability. Storage conditions, temperature, humidity, light exposure will impact the stability. There are different factors also which are not enlisted here. I request you to make the factors which are affecting the stability. Then risk assessment tools. So there are different tools to do the risk assessment like failure mode and effect analysis, fishbone diagram, risk matrix, stability trend analysis and force degradation studies. Then stress testing can be used for the risk assessment. Example of fishbone diagram for stability risk. So main causes you can consider like API instability, excipient compatibility and incompatibility, environmental stress, manufacturing variables, packaging variables, and then you can subdivide the factors. Using risk assessment to design the stability studies. Select appropriate storage conditions as per the ICH guidelines and ICH zones and the market requirements. Choose the correct testing frequency and time points. Use the stress studies to simulate worst case conditions. Prioritize high risk products for the long term stability monitoring. So this is the risk assessment to design the stability study. If you come to know a situation that the product may not be stable at accelerated condition, then proactively you should study the intermediate and long term storage conditions, and then you can take the decision to go ahead or not. Also, based on the stability, you can select the API source, composition, manufacturing process, and the packaging system. Risk control and mitigation. So how to control the risk of stability? You can use antioxidants, you can use stabilizers, you can use desiccants, you can use blister versus HDP bottle based on the risk. Adjust the pH or buffer strength to minimize the degradation. Use inert gas flushing for oxidation sensitive products. Manufacture the product under sodium vapor lamp if it is light sensitive. Do not hold for longer time if it is sensitive to the environmental conditions and if the intermediate product is sensitive. These are some of the risk control strategies and mitigation strategies. Based on the product, you can enlist some other techniques also. Then life cycle management and continuous monitoring. Review all the stability data during scale up, tech transfer, site transfer, regulatory variations, monitor the OS and OT trends, and reassess the risk periodically using stability and trend reports. For example, if you have changed the excipient grade, you need to perform the risk assessment. If you have changed the API source, API solid form or polymorphic form, if you have changed any packaging vendor or you have done alternate vendor development, so it will have an impact on the stability, and that time stability risk assessment is required to be done. Risk assessment is essential for building the robust stability strategy. It enhances the product quality, regulatory compliance and patient safety, because the products are for the patients and these products are required to be stable. These are required to be robust and safe and effective. The risk assessment for stability study supports proactive formulation, packaging and storage decisions. So based on the stability studies, you need to have the label claim and storage claim. Label claim means the storage recommendation, I mean to say, and also depending on that, you need to perform the in-use studies. Sometimes you need to change the in-use study recommendation also, so that you can provide a stable, safe and effective product to the patient. Thank you for watching the video.